Hello, welcome. Grab a beer, have a smoke, have a toke. We're talking about construction. Fucking hell. Construction sucks nowadays. I don't think there's any talent anymore because no one cares enough to, and no one, everyone wants everything to be done as quickly as possible. Shit, man, that took some time to get that out, right? Tigger agrees. Maybe you just need another drink. Okay. We used to build some cool shit. We used to have the capabilities, and it was long lasting. It wasn't these stick frame things that, you know, blows over when there's a tornado and gets pulled away by a flood and shaken down by an earthquake. I mean, these are buildings that volcanoes didn't even wipe them out. You know, people were dead inside and ash, but the walls were still pretty much there around them. I mean, that's some hardcore buildings. We can't do that. No one wants to because it's just not quick enough, and it's not cost efficient, and it's not energy efficient. It's like, yeah, it's and what? How can that those thick walls of stone not be energy efficient and safe? Excuse me. Who did that? Oh my god. I mean, just thinking about experience. It takes about 20 years to master anything, I think. And just because you've done 20 years of one thing all the time, constantly as routine, like for instance, you've only done new bangs for 20 years, that's not a well rounded experience. Because if you did tear offs and flat roofs, you'll have more experience of where the water goes the most and how to direct your capping so it goes against or with the winds of the lake, because they're bad coming from a certain direction on this certain lake, and so on and so forth. That's another thing, is knowing your area. For the Niagara region, we usually uh, roofers, when they do their cap, they go towards the lake because that's where the winds are the worst. So the water is not going to be driven under the cap and making its way in. There's tricks like that that you learn when not just from tearing off, but from starting off in the low end to gradually making your way up. Because when you're tearing off, knowing the damage of the shingles gives you an idea of if there's too much heat in the attic, or if too much tree debris. You learn all this just by looking at shingles that you've torn off over and over again. So if you've only ever done new bangs, you don't get the experience to know a repair just by a description of on a phone. So having a well-rounded experience, so you're able to do things that last, because that's the only way that they built. They didn't do it unless it was going to last, unless it was going to be beautiful. Done right. They had ceremonies, and on a lot of these ceremonies, they had time capsules that they would put underneath the cornerstone of the building during their ceremony, and all the townspeople would come dressed in their best to see the ribbons cut. It was a magnificent thing to build, to be accomplished in this department. And somehow our point of view was directed into very negative view on those artisans. And there's so few of them with the experience, and every year it's less and less. People want to go out there and work because it's manual labor. That's the word, labor. People don't like the word labor. It's body maintenance, regardless. You do it. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to take a walk. You don't. Anyway, so there's a lot of lost information, things that are passed down from generation to generation just by constantly being exposed to it, with going to work with your family, which is another thing that's shunned, child labor, unless you're a farmer. Of course, that's different. But imagine how far our civilization would be if kids did start doing things like that at a young age, going to work with the father and learning the proper way to set up a ladder. Because the amount of ladder deaths is just ridiculous. I mean, no one teaches you how to set up a ladder anymore. They just think that you automatically know when you haven't been exposed to anything like that your entire life because you've been sitting down looking at a chalkboard your entire life. I went on a little bit of a rant here. My apologies. What I wanted to talk about is the genius of their construction and how they used the materials and what their materials were. Some of them, I mean, skulls and shit. That's just rock. That rocks. I'm sorry. I know it's morbid to say, but the steps that needs to be taken in order for it to last, and it has lasted, so you know that they made these steps. The procedures done, just wow. So what if the Tower of Babel was a theme, kind of like the Victorian and the Gothic and all these other names that they have for certain styles? What if the Tower of Babel is referring to the star forts? What if the star forts have to be built next to so much water like canals or lakes because they need to draw a lot of water in for it, the mechanisms to work, for it to shift and click and rise like a transformer? What if that's possible? What if that was possible? What if they did do that? I mean, the ground is all protected around them, and for the star forts in our province, they're protected. They're on a historical site. Supposedly, a lot of death happened there and shit. A lot during the War of 1812. Who knows? Some of the fights that I've read about just are ridiculous. I mean, who charges chest first into a bullet? I don't know. Brock? Why? And he's a hero for that. You're a goddamn hero for dying so quickly. right away. Not getting anything accomplished. But apparently he has a time capsule underneath his monument, along with his body and some other dude's body that was apparently important, but I can't remember his name. Yeah. And the parades and procedures, what if those parades were just a mask for them doing something else instead? I don't know, but we're on construction. I'm stoned and I kind of got carried away there. I don't know if you played with Legos as a kid. My cousins, they had like all kinds of Lego shit. What did you build?